We live in a chaotic world right now. And maybe it's always been chaotic, but it definitely feels chaotic in this moment. And it can be so easy to get lost in the chaos. And I definitely have over this last month. And it's not bad. I think it's important to see the chaos, to be with it, to see the reality of the world we live in. Because we need to see it in order to transform it. Like, seeing is the first step, just like our own patterns, our own awakening, our own transformation. We gotta first see how I'm showing up so that I can change, right? As above, so below. Same thing globally. It's important that we see these things and we acknowledge how we don't really live in a democracy, and we acknowledge the reality of what it is to be a woman living in this world. And it's important to see it. And it can be easy to get lost in it sometimes, to get lost in the chaos and the negativity and the doom and gloom of the news and the polarization that happens online that is not a true reflection of reality when you go out and talk to people and say hi to people on the streets and go into communities. And so I want to speak a little bit today about getting lost in the chaos, because we got to catch ourselves. We got to catch ourselves when the news, the YouTubes, the social medias is sucking our life force energy, is draining us, is lowering our vibration, is lowering our frequency, is making us believe that I'm a victim to this world, to the society, how it's set up, versus I'm a powerful co-creator of my reality. And I am so fucking powerful that I am able to create change and to be the change that I want to see in this world. We forget that when we are lost in the chaos. And it happens to us all, and that's why I think it's so important to be aware of your energetic field, how you feel when you're taking in news, when you're taking in these painful topics, and how much you can take in before you start to notice your frequency drop, your energy drop, before you start to feel down, before you start to believe that the world is all negative, that all of the world is chaotic. Because sometimes I can take in the news and I can stay in my power, and I can be like a layer above, and like, oh, how interesting is this? That we're not told the truth. How interesting. Isn't it interesting to learn that actually when I read things, I need to know who is telling the story and what is their motivation? What part of the world do they come from? What is their... Everyone has a different motivation. Good to know the motivation that they are coming from so that I can read with that in mind. And for each of us, the balance of how much we take in before it affects us. And even in different chapters, we can take in different amounts. If you also have personal stuff going on in your life that's stressful, then adding in a whole bunch of stressful news ain't gonna help. So self-awareness and energy awareness. How much can I handle? And for each of us, it's different. For different chapters of our life, it's different. But we gotta stay in our power. It is my responsibility to stay in my power. It is your responsibility to stay in your power. And if we are just taking in news and chaos and negativity and war and all this crazy stuff that is happening, it really affects us. It affects our nervous system. It can put us in a state of survival, flight and fight. And it's really hard to be in your power and to co-create your life and to focus on the things that you can move the needle on. Because not many of us, there are people, but not many of us can do a lot about the war in Iran. But there are things in my sphere, in your everyday life, that by showing up with presence for the people around us, showing up in our hearts, showing up with compassion, spreading these little bits of joy as we move through the world. There are things that we can do to uplift the world, to increase the frequency. Every time we do inner work, every time we shift a pattern, a family pattern that has been going on, it's not just for us, it is for the globe. It affects anything that affects your frequency, affects the global frequency. It's all connected. So when you notice that you have been intaking too much of the chaos, too much of the news, too much of negative people in your world even, it's so important to have practices, to have, well, first to see it, to acknowledge it, right? To see, okay, I'm feeling energetically drained. I'm not in the same high frequency I was in a month ago, a week ago, a day ago. And once we see it, then what boundaries do I need to set with myself of when to watch the news, how much outside chaos to let in? And, these boundaries can always shift. There's some chapters you might be able to hold a little bit more. There's some, it's a little bit less. What self-nourishment practices can I do for myself on a daily basis so that I can stay grounded in my energy field? And that's different for everyone. It's not meant to look the same for everyone. And mine always changed. I used to be super into breath work every day. I haven't done breath work in ages. Right now I'm getting more into a Zen meditation practice, but I do my sunrise yoga every morning. I journal, I reflect, I listen to spiritual, nourishing podcasts, not just chaos. I take in soul nourishing media as well, and books. There's breath work, there's walking in nature, there's connecting to a nourishing, there's so many things. So what is your toolkit? What is your bucket of things that you can go to when you realize, okay, my bucket's empty. I'm in survival mode. I'm in chaos. What do I need to shift? Because we got to take charge of our reality. We cannot just unconsciously allow these wave after wave after wave of media and chaos and social media we got to set boundaries for ourselves and our well-being, and they're allowed to change. As I said, different chapters, they're going to be different, and they need to be different because we're always changing, we're evolving. So being present with yourself, being attuned to your energetic body, to how you are feeling on a daily basis, to what you need so that you can show up in this world from a grounded place, that you can ground your sense of peace, that your inner peace is not related to the chaos that is happening in the world, because this chaos is not going to go away overnight. And we cannot control it, but we can control what goes on here. So life is asking us to step up for ourselves. Life is asking us to show up for ourselves so that we can be the change for the world. You know, and I look at this chaos in the world, but then you look at our leaders. We are led by unconscious people. Look at the unconscious people in your world. Chaos. Their lives are filled with chaos because they don't understand yet, and I get it. I used to be that way, that we co-create our reality, that I am the common denominator of everything going on in my world. And until you reach that point of self-awareness, you keep creating the chaos that is happening, and you don't know that you're the one co-creating it. You don't realize that you're the one attracting it. And you see it with people in your life, right? And like I used to be that, so I get it. And I need to choose how much of that I can be around. Well, those are our leaders. The leaders of this world are not conscious people yet. But how do we create a shift? We need conscious leaders, heartfelt leaders. We become that. We raise our frequency, we share, it's a ripple effect, right? When one person in a family awakens, it's a ripple effect for many other people who are ready. Some people aren't, who are ready to awaken. And the more that consciousness increases in this world, the more conscious leaders we're going to have. Things are shifting, things are changing. That's why there's so much chaos, because it's all chaos and pain are usually, unfortunately, but usually part of the change. To create change, it's like a butterfly. Caterpillar's got to fucking dissolve in its little cocoon to become a butterfly. That's a part of transformation. And when we can remember that, it can be helpful to not get lost in this is just crazy and insane, which it is, and it's a part of the process. And we need to stay grounded. We need to show up for ourselves and nourish ourselves so that we can co-create our reality, so that we can co-create the lives that we are here to live. And show up from that place and make a positive impact with our family, with the people in our lives, with our coworkers, with our friends. That's how we create change. So I just wanted to pop on here today in case there were other people who are also getting a little lost in the chaos and getting a little addicted to the negativity and chaos cycles of the news. You know, I feel like I do a really good job for a while, and then occasionally I just get sucked into it. And that's okay. But notice you get sucked into it. Notice when I've been sucked into all of this. What do I need to shift in my life so that I can stay grounded? Because I am in charge of my energy. I am in charge of protecting my energy and my well-being. And let's get back into our power. And let's set up our lives with the boundaries and with spiritual nourishment, self-care, self-love practices so that we can show up from a grounded and centered place and not get swept up by the chaos, which just takes us out of our power. So Leave a comment below if you have been getting swept up in the chaos. Let me know what practices help you, what boundaries help you. And we got to make a conscious choice to shift back into our power, to choose to limit the constant chaos that we can let permeate. We got to set boundaries so that it does not constantly permeate our well-being and our groundedness.